Hi, and welcome to Journey Forward with Jory Rose, where you will gain insights, tools, and inspiration to get unstuck and live your best life. Jory is a licensed marriage and family therapist with a passion for helping people cultivate awareness and authenticity so they can show up fully in all aspects of their life. And now, here's Jory.
Hey everyone, welcome back to this week's episode of Journey Forward with Jory Rose. I am so grateful for my guest today, Deborah Fryer, to be here. I have to say it was a little effort to get us here. My COVID got in the way of, I think, multiple scheduled interview sessions for us. So thank you, Deborah, for your patience and persistence, because I really am looking forward to connecting. So welcome.
Thanks. I'm so glad to be here.
So Deborah, please introduce yourself and share with us where you're at in your journey and what's your purpose in showing up and what you're doing in the world right now.
Well, a little bit about me. I love that this is called the Journey Forward because every day I start my day when I wake up, I do my gratitudes, and then I sit up in bed and I'm looking down my legs before they've hit the earth. So visualize you're sitting on the edge of your bed and you can see your thighs and you can see your knees and you can see your feet dangling there. Like when you were a little kid and you were like too small to fully sit on the chair and you were on phone books, so your feet didn't quite touch the floor.
Hey, Deborah, don't make fun. My feet don't hit the ground in many chairs I still sit on, and I'm an adult. So I know the feeling well.
I don't mean making fun. I just like, so you'll be able to have this experience. So I actually, the journey forward is I'm reminded of my inner little. I'm reminded of this little one who's learning, who's creating, who's making it up, who's exploring the world, who's up for a grand adventure. And every single day when I wake up, I sit up, I roll my legs off the edge of the bed, and before my feet hit the ground, I look down, and it's like I have this conversation between me and me, which is I am stepping forth as the creator of my reality today. And so I love that you invited me to share in this podcast called The Journey Forward, because I believe that it's all about us taking a stand, walking one step at a time forward on our path. And every step is creating the path. So often, I know in my own life where I thought, ooh, this is in the way and that's a problem. And if only that would resolve, then I'd be further along. And that's such a misconception. And it's such a self-deception to operate as though things are in the way. Everything that is in the way is actually the way, because it is in our path, because we put it in our path, because we're supposed to either walk around it and ignore it because it's not going to hurt us, or we're supposed to climb over it because it's going to be really fun to climb over it like little kids climb over boulders, or we're supposed to ride on the rock or ride on the rail, or we're just supposed to do the thing that we learn to do by discovering the skill we didn't know we had. So I love that this is called The Journey Forward, because I feel like it's an embodiment of how am I rolling out my life? How is this decision part of my journey forward? Because every decision is leading the way.
It is. Oh my gosh, Deborah. I knew we were aligned by something very simple we chatted about for a moment of, similar names of our dogs. Mine is Buddha, yours is Bodhi. So we're already on the right path as far as like how we see and connect with the world and around us. And I have to share, I have an almost identical morning practice.
What's yours?
When I get up, very first thing I do is I put my legs onto the ground at the side of my bed and I ground myself into my morning intention. I literally feel my feet on the ground, and I have a certain set of practices. I say I've got our heart opening, a loving kindness practice, and an intention setting, a breath practice. It doesn't take very long, maybe all of 10 seconds, but it's very intentional. But it's that moment of grounding to be intentional. This is how I'm starting my day. So I first have had to just share, it's such a beautiful grounding, because so normally we just like jump up, run out of bed, start our day, and we're not present, we're not grounded, and then we wonder why we feel disconnected from whatever it is we're doing. So I love that. And I wrote down a couple of things you've said already, and it's been 5 minutes, but I love what you said, that nothing is in the way. Whatever's showing up is the way. And I personally couldn't have heard a more perfect piece of wisdom from where I'm at right now in my journey. And it's the over attachment to the beliefs that we get to create the outcomes based on some arbitrary design. And we suffer more, as you and I both know, when we over attach to that arbitrary design. But the true wisdom, and I believe healing and growth and ultimately happiness and peace and ease, comes when we can say, not why is this happening, but what am I here to learn from this right now? How can I respond? So how did you get to this point of understanding in your life? What was your journey that led you here to know that nothing is in the way, that this is the way?
This is a deeply personal question. And it's such a great question to ask every entrepreneur, every business owner. How did you get here? Because we arrive here right on time. And the way that it looked for me was, first, I didn't like money. I didn't like business. I didn't want anything to do with that. I'm a highly creative, highly intuitive, highly artistic. And I had a couple of careers in those fields, and money was very up and down. And I felt great when I had income, and I felt terrible when I didn't. And the more educated I became, I went all the way to completing a PhD, the wider the gap between, wow, I feel like I'm amazing and I'm contributing and I'm valuable, and I'm such a piece of crap and I'm not doing anything with my life, and I fell through the ice and I don't matter and I'm never going to matter and what's wrong with me. And that gap got to a place where it was so wide that I decided, in my infinite lack of wisdom, that I should go to medical school. I have a PhD, and I went around saying, well, that's not a real doctor. I'm not a real doctor. I should take it off my resume. It's intimidating to people. Nobody cares. So I took it off my resume. I pretended like I wasn't that smart. I actually got fired from jobs where people would say, how come you're so smart? Can't you dumb down a little bit? And I'd be like, I'm just talking. I'm just being myself. I don't know how to not be like this, but I tried and I failed. And then I got fired because that wasn't a good fit for me. So I thought, okay, I'll go to medical school, then I'll get a real job and a real paycheck and I'll get real respect. I can hear in the telling of the story how I so discounted myself, how I so disqualified myself, how I felt so undeserving and invalid. I invalidated myself. So I went off to medical school. And the really hilarious, ironic thing about this little adventure that I took myself on was my PhD is in comparative literature and classics, and I have 2 master's degrees, both of which are in classics. So I'm extremely good with languages, and I didn't understand the language of money. And I was teaching yoga, and I was teaching meditation, and I'm very right-brained, and I didn't have any left brain in my education, except for physics in 10th grade. But by now I'm in my 40s. So I went back to school to get a post-baccalaureate pre-medical degree. And I did organic chemistry and biology and statistics and physiology and anatomy. And I was working in the anatomy lab, which was so fascinating to me as a yoga teacher, because for years, 20 years, I was teaching yoga postures that activated certain organs and certain glands and certain muscles. And now I actually was inside the body, seeing it from the inside out.
Interesting.
It was amazing. And in this process, I was almost all the way to medical school. And first there was a flood in our town, and the room that I'm standing in completely flooded. Water rose from below. It had to be gutted down to the studs and new windows. And, basically it was just the foundation. Everything else went away. And that was a very painful, expensive, urgent problem, because I wasn't working at the time and I was spending money going to medical school. So all of a sudden I'm $50,000 in debt to rebuild what is effectively the bottom 750 feet of our house. And then a month later, in fact, it was exactly today, the flood was on September 13th. Interesting. That's the day we're recording.
Wow. I have chills because I have a flood story too. Like, there's a lot of parallels.
That's what a vibrational match is, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So then in October.
September 13th, how many years ago?
2013.
Like, that's amazing.
September 13, 2013. That's when the flood was. And we ended up feeling like lucky, because many people, including all of our immediate neighbors, their houses flooded all the way up to the kitchen. Our house and their windows broke, and so everything was underwater. Our house, the water came up from below, so I had time to remove my books and my film editing suite and my meditation altar, which is over here behind me. Like, I need to see my sheepskin where I do my meditation, like all of that. I had time to get it out. Many of our neighbors, they lost everything. And the neighbor across the street, they lost a human died in the flood. So like, we just felt.
What was the cause of the flood? Was it weather related in the community?
Weather related. Yeah. So anyway,
oh my gosh,
we felt lucky and blessed that like, we're fine. We have each other and it's okay. So then a month later, my dad dropped dead of a heart attack.
Oh my goodness.
And thank goodness my mom is still alive, and losing my dad was really hard. And so if you've ever lost a parent, you know what I'm talking about. Whatever your relationship is with the parent, they're a part of you. You're carrying half their DNA, and you've learned their habits and their beliefs and their values. And, and so like all of a sudden it's gone away. So this was a huge deal. My dad died of a massive coronary, and like that, he was dead. So I called my boss in the anatomy lab and said, I don't think I can go to work tomorrow. My dad just died. And she said, I totally understand. Take the day off. And I sat and I meditated, and I came to the awareness, I can't not see what killed my dad. And I went into the anatomy lab. And that day we happened to be working on the cardiovascular system. And it was my job to remove the heart from the cadaver. And it's quite hard to get into the heart because the arc that supports the heart is very strong. The muscles are very strong. There's a whole body of water that surrounds the heart. So there's like earth, fire, water. But
a lot of symbolism in that in relationships too, right. As you're saying that.
I'm getting a little ahead of that. So I finally get into the heart. I'm holding the heart in my hands. And the man who had died, whose heart I'm holding in my hands, he had also died of a massive coronary. And you can see that because the heart is supposed to pump in like this coordinated fill, empty, fill, empty, fill, empty. And when it's a massive heart attack, it's like this. It's super chaotic, and one side's empty and one side's full. And I could see that. And holding the heart in my hands, it was like I had this physical experience of the planetarium in my head opening, the crown chakra opening, the entire universe rushed in. And I just heard this voice saying, Deborah, you are running your business ass backwards. You're running your business counter to nature. Everything in nature is doing this. Every organ is doing this. Every cell is doing this. Every neuron is doing this. Every single atom is expanding, contracting, filling, emptying, releasing, and letting go. And I wasn't doing that. And it was so clear to me that that's why I was $100,000 in debt. That's why I had inconsistent income. That's why I was so unhappy. That's why I was 30 pounds carrying more than I am right now. And I walked out of the anatomy lab that day, tears streaming. And it was this beautiful cobalt Colorado sky. And all the aspens were gold. And I said to the aspens, how do you do that? How do you transform and let go with such grace, such majesty, and such awe? How do you do that? And they said, watch us, we'll teach you. And that is the seed of how I have built a multiple six-figure business.
Wow.
It's completely natural. It's completely organic. It's completely following the rhythms and cycles of nature. And I understood that the culture that I was conditioned in, that most of us are conditioned in, is very out of alignment on the side of the masculine. And this is not dissing the masculine.
No.
Because whatever gender you're in, you are affected by this. The belief system that you're supposed to work harder to produce more is counter to nature. Nature's constantly shutting down for the night. If you look at the leaves transform to yellow and gold and orange and crimson, and they drop, that becomes the compost for the next generation. And as the trees release their leaves, they're totally vulnerable. They're totally exposed, and more light gets in.
Yeah.
And these principles affect you, and they affect me, and they affect your business.
Yes.
So it's such a huge radical shift for me to realize, wow, I'm operating my business completely in violation of the laws of physics and biology and chemistry.
And nature. And,
Right.
as I hear you say all this, one of the things that's coming up for me to kind of make the conceptual tangible, and I think what so many people in our lives, including myself, can easily get stuck in, is this idea of we're forcing it. I was on a retreat in 2013 at Omega Institute in upstate New York, and someone who I did not know very well, but clearly knew me very well. I walked out of the bathroom in the middle of the retreat, and they looked at me and just said, "Don't force it." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I was like, "Who the fuck do you think you are?" Like, that was rude. It's like, how the fuck did you see this right through me? Right? It's like simultaneously. And those words, "don't force it," have been like in my ear for 9 years, because we often believe the way we get to where we want to be is to work harder, which is often forcing, often out of alignment so much because we're over attached, or we have this certain belief of how it's supposed to get done. It's like, that really resonates with me. And I hope with so many of the listeners, because it's not how we're conditioned. Work harder, get more rewards, is what we're told.
Mm-hmm. It's also not how nature operates. It's not how creation operates. So if we're forcing, we're aligning with the material realm. Right? Forcing is when you're pushing against something that has force that can push against you. And that happens when we're talking about things that have already been created. Right? If
Yeah.
we're forcing, we're pushing against something. Because if we weren't pushing against something, there would be no resistance. We would just be walking the path forward.
We'd be in flow.
Right. And there wouldn't be any resistance. So the minute that you notice that you are forcing, whether it's you're forcing your opinion or you're forcing a condition to change that isn't the way that you would like it to be, you're resisting what is. And this is a really important distinction because we misperceive what the reality is. So resisting what is resisting what's down here on the earth plane. It's resisting what has already been created by you or by somebody else. And material form includes not only your iPhone and your water bottle and your jewelry, but it includes thought forms, because a thought form is a belief that you could get attached to, like it's going to be really hard to make a lot of money, or that client is never going to pay that much, or right, I can't lead retreats all around the world because people have COVID and they're not going to show up. That's BS. You and I are both watching retreats happening all over the world. And
I leave on Sunday for my retreat that I'm leading.
Oh, perfect. Right. Also, there's like another example of how like I'm pulling stuff out of here. I'm pulling stuff out of the non-physical. It comes out of me as form. And then Jory's like, I had the same experience. That's called a vibrational match. And like we're modeling in real time. We didn't plan this. We didn't meet ahead of time. We didn't have this conversation, but
we did not.
We're actually modeling for you in real time how a vibrational match happens. And a vibrational match happens when your signal, the signal that you're broadcasting, the energetic signal that you're emitting by you being you, it sends out a frequency, just like a radio dial sends out a frequency, and all frequencies are being broadcast at all times. You can tune into NPR or Fox News or country or gospel or whatever you love. You tune your dial to, and you will pick it up. All signals are being broadcast at the same time. You're only picking up what you're looking for, which is so important. If
you say that again, hold on, wait. Like that's like one of those like Oprah like repeat tweetable moments. Say that again. That was so like simple and so powerful.
Whatever you love, you're tuning your dial to, and you will pick it up.
And you will pick it up. So whatever you're looking for, you will pick it up.
You're picking it up because you're looking for it. So, like, let's take an example of you and your beloved have a fight. And your beloved could be whomever. It could be a parent, it could be a sibling, it could be someone you're in a love relationship, it could be a friend. You are in a relationship with somebody and you're having a fight with them. Why did you create that? Well, you have a belief that you're bumping into that says you're going to be attacked for whatever the thing is that you're having a fight about. There's some way that they're actually affirming a belief that you have about you.
Yeah.
I went through this several years ago and it was so uncomfortable. Oh my gosh, it was one of the hardest years of my business. And I had a number of clients, and each one of them succeeded in enrolling me in their scarcity. One of them was a single mother, and I was raised by a single mom, and she was always like, I'm a single mom, and you don't understand, and my kid this, and my kid that, you don't understand. And inside, I understand really well because I was raised by a single mom. I was your child. I get it. I totally get it.
Me
And
too. Yep, me too.
you too. Okay, I love it. And so this person, I kept coaching her for free. She kept saying, "I can't afford it. I can't afford it," and I kept coaching her for free. And she kept saying, "I'll pay you. I'll pay you." And eventually, after like 3 or 4 months of her being delinquent with the payment, I said, "We need to get you on a payment plan." And she said, "I can't. I can't. I can't." And then I said, "Well, we signed an agreement, and I'm going to have to send this to collections if you won't get on a payment plan." And she just went ballistic. And of course, what was in it for me was it had nothing to do with her. What I was healing in me was this belief of somebody has to reject me. Somebody has to say you don't deserve to be paid, because I had an experience when I was a little girl where somebody said to me, you don't deserve that. And I was healing that, and I needed someone to play the part in my little drama.
Mm-hmm.
I needed someone to play the role, to raise their hand, and like somebody that I felt such a heart connection to. And I recently looked up this person online, and it looks like this person is doing great. And this person has an Etsy shop and making a lot of money and creating a lot of art and looking amazing and beautiful. And I was just like, yay, you broke through your crap. Like, we're all going to break through at some level, at some point. And it's just a question of like, when are you going to do it? So, I think how did this start was like, how is whatever is out there helping us see what we need to learn? I forget what the actual question was.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't think it
Into,
matters. Yeah,
you're tuning into. You see what you need to see.
You will pick up what you will pick up what you dial into.
Right. And so there was a part of me that was still vibrating with an old frequency from my childhood. That's what it was. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's the fact that we're having this conversation today and not any of the 2 or 3 other times that we were supposed to talk, for me personally, is hitting home in so many ways. So thank you for being here and for sharing your wisdom. But for those who are not exactly saying, well, I'll take that back. For those who are listening and saying, I want to know how to do that, to be able to see the vibration that I'm resonating in may not be a most aligned version of self, and that these are old patterns, but I can't get out of that, right? We know that's a mindset, that's a thought they're believing. Yes. And what are some of the ways for you to help start to shift the way you see what is being delivered to you so you can actually resonate on that different level? It takes a great amount of self-awareness, number one, in my opinion, and an immense amount of courage to let go of those old narratives and those old familiar and familial patterns, right? Energetic ties being broken and transgenerational trauma being broken and healed. And what would you say to speak to that?
The number one tool is meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why my dog is named Bodhi and your dog is named Buddha. And I just
Mm-hmm.
noticed you have on your cabinet behind you, you have a sculpture of a person with hands in lotus and a little nest. And I also have that on my altar upstairs, and it has 3 rabbit eggs in it.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to share about meditation, why this is such a powerful way for you to create space and release the identification with the conditioning, is that when you cultivate a meditation practice that is consistent, that is daily, that is available 24/7, that is your go-to for self-soothing, for self-regulation. You become aware of watching the thoughts and how often the thoughts interrupt and shout and clamor for your attention and ask to entertain you. And each of them, as Rumi says, is a messenger from the beyond. And none of them is who you are, because you created all of them. You invited them all in. You gave them a cup of tea in the couch in the living room of your mind. So when you recognize, oh, there's me, and here's the thought I'm observing, and that thought's going to go, and then here comes another one, and then here comes another one. It's kind of like you're sitting by the bank of a river, and you're just watching the river flow, and there's a stick, and there's a leaf, and there's a duck, and there's an otter, and none of it means anything about you. You're watching. At the same time, you are that stream. So the awareness of the flowing is who I believe we are, is the awareness of consciousness being aware of itself. So you're not the thought when you can see the thought, because if you were the thought, you wouldn't be able to see it. Think white on white, or black on black, or, you know, two colors that are exactly the same. If there's no contrast, you can't see them. And the contrast of being able to see, oh, that's the thought, and that thought creates that feeling in my body, and that feeling in my body leads me to believe these certain thoughts. Now I can see there's a feedback loop that I'm creating. When I think this, I feel this. When I feel this, I think this. And then I can watch myself going in this either downward or upward spiral of my choosing. And both of them are of my choosing. Sometimes I choose self-sabotage because it affirms a belief about me of that's never going to work. Sometimes I choose self-sabotage because I know deep down that the thing I'm going for is not what I really want. And so I don't get it because I actually didn't want the thing that I thought I wanted. So it's always unfolding in our favor. It's always the journey forward. So I just love that this is the name of the conversation, because like the way I live and what I teach and what I model and what I believe is, it's all like we're all unfolding. It's like we're this giant wave that's constantly, we're on the leading edge of it. It's like the wave is always rolling in, and then it goes back into the ocean, and then it's rolling and it goes back into the ocean. And that's who we are.
And that's who we are. And then there's the conditioning and the societal norm to believe, well, if it's unfolding in a way that we like, it must mean it's the right thing. And if it's unfolding in the way that we don't like, then it's the wrong thing. And really, there's no difference.
There's difference. There's no difference. Oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. I mean, we're just as suffering. We're just as suffering. That's good English. We are suffering just as much if we are attached to it has to be this way, which feels good, or we're attached to this way, which feels really bad. If we're avoiding this thing that feels bad, and we're always running towards the thing that feels good, we're missing right now. There is no good or bad except what you make of it. There is no right or wrong except your judgment and the context you put it in.
I always say to my clients, there's no such thing as negative emotions. They're all natural emotions. You know, because as soon as we're like, oh, this is negative, that automatically activates the thought, the reactions, the resistance, the dismissal, the denying, the judging, the ignoring, you know, all of it, versus how would I respond differently if I knew this was normal and natural?
I love what Eckhart Tolle says. He always says, when we encounter something that we perceive to be negative, act as if you chose it.
Act as if you chose it.
Yeah.
You just confirmed for me, he's coming to my town in 2 weeks, and I've been toying with the idea of, should I get tickets? I'm like, yeah, I think I really should. I've seen him speak only once before, but yeah, act as if you chose it. How would you respond differently if it was unfolding exactly as you wanted, even if it was hard?
Right. I mean, it's so empowering to give yourself permission to investigate that question. If I chose this, then there must be a reason that I chose this. If I'm the creator of my reality, why did I create this particular obstacle that feels so insurmountable? Because I must be bigger than it. I must be capable of it. I must have the skills or the wherewithal. Savvy, the confidence, the strength, the flexibility, the creativity. There must be some quality in me that is capable of doing this. I often tell my clients, when they balk at challenges, do you like to ski? I live in Colorado. So I say, do you like to ski? And they're like, yeah, I love to ski. And I'm like, okay, great. Which is more fun for you? You know, do you want to be on the green runs every day for the rest of your life? Or do you want to spend some time in the black diamonds? And they're like, well, blacks are certainly more fun. Like, well, yes, they are. But you didn't get on a pair of skis and do black the first time. You did your skis on the green, and then you master that, and then you went to the blue, and then you mastered that, and you looked for blue with some bumps, and then you mastered that, and then you went to the top of the black diamond, and you look down the hill, and you're like, those bumps are big, right? And you took one or two, and then you stopped, and then you took two or three, and you stopped, and then you took four, and then you stopped, and then you went back and did it again, and pretty soon your muscle memory didn't operate from fear. It operated from, this is fun, this is an adventure, I'm going to do this.
Right.
And you got more and more fluid. And the thing about our brains is we're constantly learning. We're constantly swapping old information for new, old memory for new. We're constantly creating new. We're constantly walking our journey forward.
Right. How can we not?
Right.
Well, and you know, that image of being at the top of the double black diamond and looking down, you know, as we know, the physiological response for excitement and fear feel the exact same. So much of it is, how are you relating to it?
Right.
You know, and that's, you know, a core message of what I teach of, it's not about the thing, it's how you relate to the thing.
Yeah.
And I think this is, you know, universal. And I have some very, very specific examples, but some very esoteric ones as well. It's, you know, okay, so this is what's happening. And I can let it break me down for a moment because I feel I just need to give into it. And then how I can be that phoenix, how I can gather myself up and say, okay, and now how do I want to respond? Because that is now my choice.
Mm-hmm.
Which I agree, through meditation for my own journey, it was my meditation practice that helped me stop believing the thoughts as my truth. Because, you know, we live in a very cognitive culture where we look at facts as reason and truth. And if it's right on paper, it must be true in our lives. And I was conditioned with the best of them with that, and did not know to trust my inner wisdom as my actual inner compass and guide and my own personal truth. And so the cognitive dissonance between what I felt in my body when I finally gave myself that moment to settle was like, okay, now what? Like that was scary because I had to enter into this unknown pattern
Mm-hmm.
of trusting what wasn't visible, right? But knowing, in a deep knowing, this is my truth. And it took me some time to reconcile that. And at times, you know, I'm human. I fall back into those old simple patterns, and then life has a way of showing us, oh no, that's, you're not on the right path. You're dismissing the inner wisdom, and the world's going to keep telling you how until you pay attention, right?
Yeah. I always say the universe is a university. And, you
I
know,
love that.
in her benevolence, we get to take the same class over and over again. There's no charge to take the class again. If you didn't master the material, you'll get another opportunity to master the material. How many people do you know who had the same relationship, different guy, same relationship?
Yeah.
Over and over and over, or, you know, different clients, same relationship over and over and over, right? Or different diet, same body over and over and over. And the reason is because the conscious mind and the body operate at different speeds. They speak different languages.
Yeah.
And so you have to learn how to speak both.
Yes. There's so many different directions I could take this conversation. I love this level of alignment in understanding this is an option that not everyone recognizes as a way to move through their life. And one of the things that you quickly said but skipped over because it wasn't the focus of what you were saying, but I do want to go back to, was going from in debt to having a multiple six-figure business. What are some of the tangible practices aside from meditation to help one shift their mindset around believing they are worthy of or capable of, and then therefore attracting those clients who onboard you even in their scarcity?
How do you shift your money mindset? You recognize that you have immediate, instantaneous reactions to thinking about money. You have instantaneous, visceral reactions to raising your prices, to having enrollment conversations, to working a certain number of hours. You bump up against beliefs around how hard you're going to have to work. So you become aware of, wow, I'm really resisting making money because I don't want to work that hard, or I don't want to be responsible for other people. Well, the good news for you is that you're not responsible for other people. Now, if you're a mom and you have little babies, you are responsible for them because they can't feed themselves. They can't go to the store by themselves. They don't drive yet. You are responsible for them. If you have a fur child, you're responsible for them. But in general, when you're running a business, you're an adult, you're interacting with adult clients, and you are not responsible for their irresponsibility. You are not responsible for them abdicating responsibility for themselves. You are not responsible for their conditioning. You're there to facilitate growth. You're there to facilitate a breakthrough. You're there to help them see it from a different perspective and see their reaction to people who have power, to people who have authority, to people who have influence. And all of our money troubles, our money shame, our money anxiety, our money stress, I don't care how much money you have. I know I've worked with people who are multimillionaires who have the same deep emotional wounds as people who are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
It comes down to safety. It comes down to your nervous system feeling it's safe for you to be you. It's safe for you to be loved. And to know at every cell, at a cellular level, that you are loved, that you matter, that you belong, and that your contribution is unique and no one else on the planet can contribute what you can, because no one else has your experience. And when you truly get how valuable you are, the value that only you can bring because of what you alone have experienced, you begin automatically to reset your inner thermostat of your deservingness and your worthiness. You realize there's nobody like me on the planet. And the people who are going to work with you are going to be a vibrational match for you. You're gonna, I mean, just like Jory and I are having this moment of like I have that thing and you have that thing, and like we're just such a vibrational match for each other. Why is that? And when you know who you are and you don't change your clothes because they want you to look this way and those people want you to look that way, and you just be you, you just express as you just say what's true for you and you let them say what's true for them. I don't make me wrong to make you right. How many of us have done that? Way too long. That's called codependency. Not healthy, not sustainable, right? If I make me wrong to make you right, then I'm presenting a false version of me to make you feel okay about you. And now you're liking me when you don't even know who I am, because I'm not even.
You're liking me in this false version, which is
right,
supporting your grandiosity.
It's so contorted, right? But the other thing we also do, which is, oh, I'm better than you. And if I'm better than you, how can I ever relate with you? Right? I've got this holier than thou, I'm better than you. A lot of people hang out in the, oh, I'm so spiritual, I don't need money, I'm better than money. That's a problem. You're not better than money. Money's just energy, and so are you. So you are money. How about that?
Yeah. How about that? And I love the resetting your inner thermostat. And that when you step into the vibration that you're wanting to live at your highest, best, most conscious, most aligned, authentic self, then your prices will be matching the vibrational energy of the clients who already see that as worthy and necessary and valuable. So you're not convincing anybody. There's no sale call. It's just a, are we a right match call?
Right.
There's no selling involved. And, you know, it's interesting because I'm in the midst of shifting a lot of my practice as a therapist to a coach in a different capacity, in both logistically, like having less constraints on where I see my clients and as a therapist in California versus a coach, but also in the energy in which I show up, that I'm not there to save or fix anybody. And I think therapy has this very much kind of a downward negative spiral energy to it, like we're healing the past. And to me, the journey forward is a positive upward spiral of being a guide in clearing out the cobwebs, the narratives, again, those transgenerational traumas that we have embodied and ingested, to say, no, that no longer, no. My favorite phrase right now, Deborah, is I'm no longer available for that.
Mm-hmm.
It's not I'm letting it go. It's not that I'm releasing it. It's not that I'm having to get rid of something that was once a part of me. It's a higher vibrational level for me to say, I'm no longer available for whatever it is that feels really out of alignment for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of my most favorite languaging right now, and I'm using it for so many things, and it fits so many places.
Mm-hmm.
Of what but we can only know what we're not available for until we know ourselves, which goes back to the meditation.
Right. Right. It will not surprise you that this morning's meditation, my meditation, was all about the word available.
Of course it was. I have chills again.
And
of course.
So I went and I'm like, well, I think the word available, let's think about all the cognates with that. So travail, right? When it's really laborious, when it's really toilsome, when it's really effortful, right? That's related to it. And then I thought, what about prevail, like prevailing winds? And then I thought, what does it mean to avail yourself of something? And the root word of all of that comes from the Latin. Here's where my background in classics comes in. It comes from the root valere, which means to be worthy. I have clients all the time that say, oh, I'm not ready to blah, blah, because my website, I'm not ready to enroll to enroll clients. I'm not ready to launch my program. I'm not ready to be visible on Zoom. I'm not ready to fill in the blank. And I say to them, are you available to be paid? Are you available to help people? Because to be available means that you're here in service. It means you are showing up knowing that you are worthy.
That's it. That's it. The amount of synergy in our conversation has been beautifully magical and aligned. And I'm so grateful to you today on so many levels. Where can people find you? If they want to know more, learn more, hear you more, what would be the ways? I know obviously we'll have the links in the show notes, but where are you showing up in the ethers for people to connect?
I am omnipresent. It's such a good question. If people come to me and I'm like, where did you hear about me? So I'm very easily Googleable. You can just type in Deborah Fryer, Deborah Fryer. You will find a jillion podcasts about me. You can send me a personal email. I still respond personally to all my email. You can also go grab a free book, and there will be a link in the show notes. I forget which book it is. I've written 3, but one of them we're giving to you as a gift. And I would love to invite you to join a free community I have called the Anatomy of Money Academy, where we dive into these conversations about mindset, mindfulness, and really mastering yourself with a capital S.
I love it. I love it. Deborah, I could talk to you for hours. We'll have to continue staying connected offline because this was really special. So thank you so much for tuning in with me today. And I hope all of you listening really heard exactly what you were supposed to hear, even if you didn't think it was. Thank you guys so much. Take care and be well.
To continue your journey forward, find Jory Rose on Facebook and Instagram to become part of her growing community. You can also gain access to her meditations, books, online classes, or to sign up for an upcoming retreat, visit her at joryrose.com. That's JOREEROSE.com.